Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss the topic organizational cultural competency in multi-healthcare settings. This topic comes under the module TransCultural in Nursing. So the learning outcomes of this topic are: describe the cultural competency in an organization, describe the importance of cultural competency in reducing health disparities, discuss the theories commonly used to explain organizational culture, discuss nursing practice in dealing with diversity. So before we go to the presentation, let's talk a little bit about what is this topic refers to. So it is the organizational cultural competency in multi-healthcare settings. So if you take an organization, there can be staffs who have come from different cultural backgrounds. So they might have their own cultural values, beliefs, and practices. And also the clients that the organization get may from different cultural backgrounds as well. So it is very important to treat each and everyone in a culturally competent way in order to get the better outcome, in order to the successful, smooth running of the organization, and also to provide a better service to their clients. Okay, so let's go to the introduction. It is the role of the organization to provide culturally competent care to a large group of people. Implementing transcultural policy will ensure that culturally competent care is received by a wider group of people that the organization serves. Each organization is different in terms of its policies, its manpower, its working, and the client it serves. Therefore, each and every organization has their own policies and procedures in order to provide better service, better care to their clients. Because each and every organization's perspective, their goal can be different. The people, the client that they are facing can be different. Their outcome can be different. So depending on the organization's goal, the aim of the organization, their policies and procedures can be different in order to provide the culturally competent care. So what is this cultural competency? A defined set of values and principles and demonstrated behaviors, attitudes, and structures that enable employees and leaders to work effectively cross-culturally. So cross-culturally means among different cultures. So as a nurse, you may have your colleagues from different cultural backgrounds, and also you may have patients from different cultural backgrounds. So it is your responsibility to work with each and everyone to provide a better nursing care and also to the successful smooth running of this of your organization. So that we call as cross-cultural. Transcultural perspectives in the community. So, community refers to a group of people, places, and locality. A caring organization is an inclusive workplace that cares for the physical, social, and mental well being of its clients and staff. Many organizations or hospitals now are making efforts to have transcultural care as a policy. A well-structured policy of transcultural care is one that is available without neglecting cultural backgrounds and provides a conducive environment that results in work satisfaction employees who in turn will provide a quality care. So policy should begin from recruitment process. Transcultural perspectives in an organization. So, organization cultural competency defined as a set of congruent attitudes, practices, policies, and structures that come together in a system or agency and allows professionals to toil more successful in cross-cultural situations. Organization cultural competency focuses on the identification of changes that an organization needs to adapt to become more culturally competent. So, as we said, there can be staff in an organization from different cultural backgrounds, and always there can be changing in staff, and they can be from different cultural backgrounds. So according to the needs, according to the available staff, their cultural values and their cultural backgrounds, the organization sometimes have to uh, make changes in their policies and procedures in order to serve their clients, serve their staff in a better way. Failure to address the issues of discrimination and prejudice may result in health disparities. So there should not be any discrimination issues or prejudice issues in an organization. This may lead to health disparities. The cultural competency of an organization develops over time. Several strategies needed to make cultural competency work well. They are ongoing training of staff on the value of diversity. So, as there are some training programs, training workshops frequently held by the organization to their staff. Likewise, it is very important to teach them different cultural values, different cultural backgrounds, their values, beliefs, practices, as well as different languages to their valued staff, and rewarding practices that value diversity based on cultural understanding. Forming collaboration that is culturally competent from diverse backgrounds. Providing guidelines in addressing administration and governance, orientation and education, language and staff competency. Language competency is an important element in providing culturally competent care. So even if you know the different cultural backgrounds, their values and practices, if you are unable to communicate effectively with your clients, with your patients, or with your colleagues, uh, knowing the cultural background sometimes may not useful. So it is very important that you should have the language competency as well in order to have a better communication with your clients. Periodical community assessment is also required to be undertaken by the organization. Assessment process must be made known and sensitive to the community. Data obtained from the assessment need to be used appropriately for the people whom the assessment was made for. So there are some theories that describes the organizational cultures. But the Bowman and Deal's theory and Sheen's theory are the most commonly used ones. So if we take the Bowman and Deal's organizational theory, there are four frameworks in this theory. They are structural framework, human resource framework, political framework, and symbolic framework. So we have given a link under this presentation slide. So once you click this slide, you can have a video regarding this Bowman's and Deal's organizational theory, which explains more on that. So let's have a brief description regarding this theory. So each four frameworks explains different things. So the structural framework, this framework focuses on the obvious how of change. It's mainly a task-oriented frame. It concentrates on strategy, setting measurable goals, clarifying tasks, responsibilities, and reporting lines, agreeing metrics and deadlines, and creating systems and procedures. So the human resource framework, it places more emphasis on people's needs. It chiefly focuses on giving employees the power and opportunity to perform their jobs well, while at the same time addressing their needs for human contact, personal growth, and job satisfaction. The next framework, the political framework, it addresses the problem of individuals and interest groups having sometimes conflicting agendas, especially at times when budgets are limited and the organization has to make difficult choices. In this frame, you will see coalition building, conflict resolution work, and power-based building to support the leaders' initiatives. The last framework, the symbolic frame, it addresses the people's needs for a sense of purpose and meaning in their work. It focuses on inspiring people by making the organization's direction feel significant and distinctive. It includes creating a motivation vision and recognizing superb performance through company celebrations. The next organizational theory is Sheen's organizational theory. It consists of three levels. They are artifact and symbols, espoused values, and basic underlying assumptions. So there are also, you can see a video link. Once you click the video link, you can watch a video which explain more regarding this Sheen's organizational theory. Let's have a brief description on that. So what is this artifact and symbols? Artifact mark the surface of the organization. They are the visible elements in the organization such as logos, architectures, structure, processes, and corporate clothing. These are not only visible to the employees but also visible and recognizable for external parties. For an example, if you see a nurse wearing the uniform that is given by a government, in Sri Lanka, each and every government nurses has the same uniform designed by the government. So once you see the uniform, you can very easily guess that the particular nurse is from a government hospital. Likewise, there are some logos that wherever you see the logo, you remember the particular organization. Likewise, there are some symbols which shows, which reflects an organization's goal or their aims. So those we call as artifacts and symbols. So espoused values, this concerns standards, values, and rules of conduct. How does the organization express strategies, objectives, and philosophies, and how are these made public? Problems could arise when the ideas of managers are not in line with the basic assumptions of the organization. So the other level is basic underlying assumption. The basic underlying assumptions are deeply embedded in the organizational culture and are experienced as self-evident and unconscious behavior. Assumptions are hard to recognize from within. So let's move to cultural diversity in nursing practice. So it is very important to practice in a culturally competent way in order to provide better nursing care and to get the better patients' outcomes. So, what do you mean by diversity? So, diversity means you can have people from different gender, either male or female, from different ethnicity, different sexual orientation, different skin color, belief system, and spiritual beliefs. Likewise, there are different diversities that you can get patients from. So conflict occur if the respect towards the acceptance of each other's values and differences are missing. So it is very important to provide culturally competent care as well as you should not miss your own values and beliefs of your culture as well. While respecting your culture, it is very important to respect others' cultural values, beliefs, and practices as well. So, cultural competency is now identified as a key strategy for eliminating racial and ethnic disparities. So, what is this disparity? It is a recognizable health issue that are rampant around the world. Health disparities are preventable differences in the burden of disease, injury, violence, or opportunities to achieve optimal health that are experienced by socially disadvantaged populations. So this pie chart shows different dimensions of diversity. So you can see the age, mental or physical abilities and characteristics, ethnicity, gender, race, and sexual orientation. Likewise, the communication style, work style, marital status, work background, the day and night shift, function level, religious belief, thinking styles, geographic location, parental status, education, political affiliation. So all these describes different dimensions of diversity. So there are some social practices that are barriers and cause inequality in healthcare services. For an example, prejudice, ethnocentrism, stereotyping, racism. So if we see the brief description of these, so what is prejudice? It is a preconceived opinion that is not based on reason or actual experience. So without knowing, so without analyzing a thing, coming to a conclusion, a preconceived opinion which is not good in nursing practice. The next one is ethnocentrism. So one believed that their own culture is superior than others. So we should never think like that. So we have to give respect to each and everyone's cultural values, beliefs, and practices. So we have to treat each and everyone in an equal manner. Stereotyping, a possible functional thinking used by a person to categorize and abbreviate a wealth of information, directing accurate predictions about others. So, if patients are coming with the same disease condition, but from different parts of the country or different from different areas, so you should not guess that each and every patient has the same type of disease condition. So, likewise, their thoughts, their cultural values, beliefs, their practices, their behavior, their way of communication, their way of treating the people can be different. So, you should not assume anything before assessing the patient correctly. So, you should not stereotype anything. Racism, it is the prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that the own race is superior. So all this should not be in a quality, better, good nursing practice. So cultural competency, there are five-step approach to minimize disparities and to provide high quality care. They are cultural desire, cultural awareness, cultural knowledge, cultural skill, and cultural encounters. So let's see what are they. Cultural desire. The cultural desire is defined as nurses' motivation to want to engage in the process of becoming culturally aware, culturally knowledgeable, and culturally skillful and seeking cultural encounters. It stands in contrast to the feeling of having to participate in this process. So they have their willingness, their desire to learn regarding different cultures in order to provide better nursing care. So, what is cultural awareness? It is the foundation of communication and it involves the ability of standing back from ourselves and becoming aware of our cultural values, beliefs, and perceptions. What is cultural knowledge? It is an important part of your cultural competency. People often focus on culture specific information when they interact, and while this knowledge is useful in a specific situation, it is not necessarily transferable to other cultures. Cultural skill, it is the ability of a person to effectively interact, work, and develop meaningful relationships with people of various cultural backgrounds. Cultural encounters refer to social relations, places, and objects. So let's move to the cultural competent communication skills. So it is very important to have a very better communication skills in order to provide a better nursing care. So how you can improve your communication skills? It is not just knowing the language. it different skills that all each and every healthcare worker should have in order to communicate properly in a better communicate in a better way with their clients. So use inclusive language. You should not make any assumptions before you assess, before you take the proper history, before you assess your client correctly. Also, if you are going to use medical jargons with patients, they will never understand what you are talking. So you can use medical jargons with your healthcare team members, but not with your clients or patients. Always use simple language in an understandable manner in order to have a better communication between your client and you. So learn about each and other's culture, generation, and beliefs. So whenever you get time, spend some time to learn regarding others' culture as well. This can be done uh, from one any of your colleagues, or sometimes if the patient is okay, stable enough to communicate with you, communicate their cultural background, it's that's fine. You can learn their cultural values, beliefs, and practices from the patient itself. So, active listening. So, as a healthcare professional, it is very important to listen what your patient says or what your colleague, your healthcare member says. You should not interrupt the flow of their communication pattern. And also, whenever you are listening to your client's needs, always you should show that you are actively listening it. You can make some noises, you can nod your head, you can shake your head, you can show some body movements, which ensures that you are listening actively. Learn about the client's culture. So explain what you want to do and why you are doing. So it's always before you do anything to the patient or your client, it is very important to explain why you are doing it and what you are going to do, and get their consent before you do anything. So approach with engagement, openness, and with the willingness to learn. Always you should have that willingness to learn anything. Otherwise, even if you learn, you will not understand if you don't have that willingness to learn. So what is cultural assessment? So this cultural assessment reduces disparities. So negotiated holistic model of nursing process is used. uh, you all know what is the traditional nursing process model. So in the nursing process, we have 5 steps. They are assessment, diagnosis, planning, intervention, and evaluation. So we are going to apply these 5 process into this negotiated holistic model of nursing process. So they are the exchange of expert knowledge, analysis and interpretation of information from both the client and the nurse, joint decision making between client and nurse, implementation of mutually derived plans for action with specific agreed upon actions for nurse and client, outcome appraisal of the goals and processes that are also mutually agreed between nurse and client. So there are 3 areas that may require cultural assessment. They are daily health habits, such as nutrition models, fitness activities, health well-being, and healing approaches. Family organization, constitution, and task demarcation and child-minded behavior. The process of decision making in the family, health seeking behavior, communication patterns, and influence figure, support system, and network. The third one is demographic, socio-economic status, and employment patterns. So there are some recommendations stated by the American Nurses Association in relation to minimize the disparities and increase the cultural competency. They are all nurses are to be advocates for human rights. Organizations pay attention to potential violation of human rights. Nurses work collaboratively within the profession and others. Nurses conduct research relevant to and involving the communities. Nurses administrators evaluate policy and recognize the risk associated to breach the human rights. Nurse administrators uphold caring with the inclusion of the environment. Nurse administrators look beyond the immediate environment. So, if we take the summary of this presentation, the development of organizational culture includes the policy available in an organization to make it a place that provides services to people from different backgrounds. An aspect that makes an organization accessible is its customer friendliness. Baghdad hospitals regard cultural competency as an element to improve services. The two theories in the transcultural perspectives are Bowman and Deal's theory and Shin's theory. Bowman and Deal's theory involves four frameworks. They are structural framework, human resource framework, political framework, and symbolic framework. The three levels of Shin's theory are artifacts and symbols, espoused values, and basic underlying assumptions. Cultural diversity in nursing practice focused on the use of culturally competency among nurses and organizations that helps in minimizing health disparities. So the main objective of this topic is to uh, explain you all or let you all know why the cultural competent care is important in an organization. So it is the responsibility of each and every organization to treat their staff in a cultural competent way, and also the staff should treat their client in a cultural competent way. This only gives a better outcome from the from your clients, and also to run the company, the run the organization smoothly. It is very important to satisfy the staff's needs as well. So the organization should provide a cultural competent care to their staff as well as to their clients in order to run the organization smoothly and to get better outcome from their clients. So hope you all understand the importance of cultural competency in an organization, and also when you are providing nursing care, you should know the cultural background of your client, and also to maintain a better relationship with your clients, you should improve your communication skills as well. So by willingly you have to learn all these things. So I hope you understand today's lecture. Uh, hope you enjoyed the lecture as well. Thank you.